Okay, we're on Eruvin, Perek Hey Mishnah Daled. Fourth Mishnah in the 5th chapter of Eruvin. And we're going to talk about actually the measuring itself, the measuring of the 2,000 amot. Remember we said that if you have techum Shabbat, let's dedicate this learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. You can email me if you like. Remember we talked about the idea that around your city you have to have 2,000 amot techum. Nowadays you would just measure it on GPS or whatever. But back then they didn't have all these technological things, and they'd have some pretty serious obstacles that they had to overcome when they were measuring the techum Shabbat around a city, around an area. So how do you measure? Says the Mishnah, Ein modedin ela bechevel shel 50 amah, lo pachot v'lo yoter. You cannot measure except when you only measure a rope of 50 amot, not less and not more. Because if it's more, then there's going to be a sag in the rope, and they're not going to pull it tight. It's just too heavy. And if it's less, then they're going to pull more, and they're going to get a wrong measurement. V'lo yimdod ela keneged libo. And you measure keneged libo. I think I have a number of pictures from the picture book that I found in Eruvin. Okay, there's a lot of measuring questions. So it says lo yimdod keneged libo. Here we see meaning the two guys, they should have it. I don't know why I guess in their chest keneged libo. These are stomachs, but whatever. They measure in the same amount. Why? Because if one is holding it up and one is holding down, obviously that's they're not going to get an accurate measurement of the proper distance. So this is always an interesting problem. What do you do if you have natural obstacles or unnatural or man-made obstacles? So if you are measuring and you got to a crevasse or a valley or like a ditch or a huge hole, or a fence, mavli'o v'chozel midato. Mavli'o means you swallow it, but what it means in the Bartanura says, okay, your mavli'o. He doesn't explain the language. You have this, so I'll just show you what it means. Mavli'o, okay, normally if it's over 15 amot, you're great, okay? Ya'amod al sfato, Rashi says. You start in the end, mavli'o, swallow it, meaning you have this area, so you don't measure going down and going up, rather you go across the top. Meaning you go as the bird flies, as the crow flies, okay? Or you have a gader that fell. So the Bartanura says what that means is, ze ya'amod al sfato, one second. You don't put the slope. You don't include the slope. This one stands on the edge from here. And this one is on the edge. You swallow the midron, you swallow the angle. That's what this is exactly showing us. He's too big. Okay. Too small. Here we go. You swallow the angle. So and you measure across. Okay. And chozel midato. Okay. You go back to your measuring. Okay, and the Bartanura explains what this means. Chozel midato. It tells you, im haya rachbo keneged ha'ir yoter mi-50. What if the ditch or the valley or whatever, the hole is more than 15 amot long? Okay, what can you do? Ube'echad miroshav shelo keneged ha'ir yachol lahavlio. But you can actually somewhere later on. Here we go. This is a great example. So you have this valley or this ditch or this I can't think of the word. But at the edge, on the end, okay, you can go over 50 amot. You can measure 50 amot. So you're allowed to go along the side. What this makes me think of is, NFL football. Those guys with measuring the 10 yards. So they're holding it on the side, and then they can always go out to the field. But you can measure on the side. The side measurement is perfectly good in order to then continue at the edge after the end of the crevasse, after the end of the hole. Okay, the crater. That's the word I was looking for. So that's what mavli'o means. Higia lahar. Same thing. If you go to a mountain, mavli'o v'chozel midato. You don't go on the angle of the mountain. So the Bartanura says if it's a mountain, what you could do is you put up, if it's a small mountain, you could put up, sticks and go across the top over it. That's the same thing you could do for a mountain. Okay. The Bartanura, the Tahati says, ma'amid klonis mitzad zeshalar. It's very low mountain. It must be. You put like a stake on one side. You put a staff on the other side, and then you go straight across. The same thing. But one thing you can't do, remember we said, is you can't go outside of the techum. You can go to the edge, you can go to the side, but you cannot go to the outside of the techum. What if you can't do the havla'ah? Meaning it's too wide, it's too whatever. This is the case. Shamati shemikadrim beharim. I heard in this case that what it means is mikadrim beharim. Korder means you dig into the mountain. But it doesn't really mean that. Let me go back to the Bartanura for a second. What it means is mikadrin nokvim, ro'in ki'ilu nokvim. You do it as if you make a nekev, as if you made a hole. How do you do that? As we said, the Gemara says, modidin oto bechevel shel arba amot. You use a rope of arba amot. Tachton meniach et hachevel keneged libo, ve'elyon keneged raglav. So I'm holding it here, and the bottom one, the elyon, is holding it at his feet. Meaning you're still holding it straight. Let me see if I can find a picture of this. These are all these different, here we go. Exactly that. This guy holds it neged libo, and this guy holds it at his feet. And then 4 amot, because if you take the hypotenuse, it's going to be longer. So you do straight, as if you're going through the mountain itself in order to get the length. Because this is the case where you would say, as if you're going through the mountain, but you're measuring as the crow flies. You're not measuring the actual ups and downs of the mountain itself. And that's how you measure 2,000 amot. Nowadays, of course, all of that is moot because we would just measure 2,000 amot, I don't know, probably using Google Maps. We'll stop here, as we said, and if you want to, you can email me if you have any comments or questions. Have a great day.